Oh, she said it differently this time. I'm sorry. Well, everyone, I am very grateful that you're here. And I want to engage in a discussion about two society, one that we already know, and one that I think might be something to consider to know. Colorblind society versus a color love society. Uh, we have been underneath the colorblind society since what, the late 60s, and it was an earthquake to the reality of the world that we lived in at that time and that we currently live in today. When the notable Dr. late Martin Luther King said that he preferenced to live in a society where you be judged not by the color of your skin, but by the content of your character. And I embraced that like everybody did, I would assume. And society embraced that. And even today, we hear resonance of a colorblind society. I hear congressional people saying the word colorblind, and it's a very meaningful transition from the evil of color association that was placed upon us as human beings prior to that time. But I see that we have to emerge beyond the colorblind society, and that's why you guys are here today. So I got a lot of little things that I'll go through, and at any point in time, please say, "Hey, I got something to say." Okay. So slide number two. See if I can get this thing to work. Um, Rules for our discussion today. I typically post this out. It's just we need to maintain civility. If you throw any punches and stuff like that, and I got the word discussion spelled incorrectly, but please allow the presenter to complete the presentation and be respectful. And but I do ask because I think we should be talking today. Do stop me and at any point that you think is necessary to inject your thoughts. Uh, if you have questions, responses to the questions, we don't want to overdo it because other people might join in, and sometimes we can get pretty wordy, and I think it's a good thing, but we just want to, at the point rule number four, we want to agree to disagree. Okay. So again, let me thank everybody for coming in here today. Now, the concern that I had, what brought up this idea was the shifting political climate that we're living in. Um, we see that all of the amazing accomplishments by our ancestors that have been accomplished is now being eroded in today's political climate. And so, what do we do? Should we just sit idle and see that, for example, museums that stored historical Black images or different historical issues that we take pride in, it's being removed? Laws that have been put in place is being changed and shifted, and the so-called DEI, whatever that represents to other people, it was a stance to make more diversity prevalent in our society. But in actuality, and debatable if you will, uh, the DEI mostly benefited the white female. I'm sorry, I said it. So for those who would be in disagreement, please, as I stated earlier, this is a discussion-based meeting today. So listen if you will, but please, if your mind said I need to say something, Tyrone, shut up. Tyrone will shut up. I will respect you. So I'm going to go through the things that I put together. That is to examining the pros and cons of a colorblind society. We all have went through this society. We all are living in it now, but what are the goods and what are the bad that may not be obviously presenting itself? So I decided to go with the good things about the colorblind society. Number one, promotion of equality. Number two, everyone is treated the same. Everyone is treated the same until you're pulled over by the police department, right? Reduction in racial prejudice. We don't see any of that happening. This is one of the pros for it. Emphasis on individual merit. We see that our today's government is knocking out people who have worked hard and diligently in their life to excel, and that has not happened. Number five, legal and institutional policies. We see that even changing with the current Supreme Court we have. Six, the elimination of positive and negative stereotypes. I don't know if we ever got to that point, but this is one of the alleged pros that I pulled up. And by the way, I extracted this information from some AI documents that I put in and questions, and it came back with some beautiful thoughts. Another supposedly advantage of a colorblind society is easier in interpersonal relationship. Eight, universal human value, supposedly. Nine, reduction in racial conflict. And number 10 is a model for future generations. Now, I'm going to be quiet and ask, are there any comments or observation that any of you guys would like to share on any of those 10 supposedly good points about a colorblind society?
The second one ignores past and
Oh,
current systemic injustice.
okay.
It's to assume that everyone is now equal after so many years of inequality. And now, oh, we're equal now. So it doesn't acknowledge the disadvantage of, from generation to generation.
Yes, yes. That's what I find to be very true as well. And listen, God knows I have, but not, I'm not trying to debunk what was put in place that should have been a way to lift us out of that society that discriminated to us because of our color. It did that, but along with what it brought into being is that they found new ways to be equally as prejudiced towards us as ever before. So, but are there anybody else who looked at any of these 10 different pros that have comments about them?
Well, can you hear me?
I
Yes.
hear you, brother. Yes.
Can you hear?
Yes.
I would I would say that all of us, especially our two sisters that are not in this country anymore, would look at we have never had a colorblind society, right? We have never had a colorblind society. We would all like for it to have been, yes, all of these 10 things, but I don't think we have gotten very close to any one of these 10.
Wow. Powerful. Powerful. Sheila, you're in Germany.
Yes, yes.
Is that promoted also in Germany, a colorblind society over there?
Of course not. I'm in the cradle of white supremacy. Of course not.
Oh, well, so that's not even mentioned by citizens there?
Okay, so how can I explain? There are a lot of discrimination here, right?
Okay.
Of course, I wasn't born here and I didn't grow up here. For me, it's like a paradise. But for the people who were born here, and normally the children of Africans who are children of Africans with Germans, yes, so they are treated differently. I think because the whole discussion going on around the world, specifically in the United States, because you have a voice to the world, the young generation, they start complaining. And I go to certain meetings or something like that where people complain a lot and they see how they are treated because their appearance, the ones who came from the continent, for example, how the kind of, although maybe they were born here, they also call it German, what I call paper Germans. They were born here, they grew up here, and comparing to their situation, for example, of the so-called mixed children who will be black here, or they will be seen as black here because they are not white, of course. They are the ones who complain a lot, and the dark skinned people, they even create safe space just for dark skinned people because the way how they are treated is totally different in the schools, job market, even to rent an apartment, how they are treated by the police. It's a kind of system that we have throughout the world, right?
Wow, that's horrible. And look, I've never been to Germany, and thank you for sharing a different perspective that will make me see the world much broader than what I have in the past. Dr. Cook, I know you're in two different meetings, but if you care to chime in, and if you can't, I do understand. Okay. So I think she's probably engaged with the current meeting
I'll
she's in. Okay, go on.
what was the question?
Those top 10 pros of colorblind society, I was thinking I rolled it back. We were just commenting on it. These are and this is the AI information I snapped, by the way, and it alleged that these are supposedly the 10 most important elements of a colorblind society. Are there anything that you see that you would feel like is apropos or you're in agreement with, or at some point you have to say this is just a bunch of malarkey? I don't know. I'm not trying to make your opinion, but do you have any opinion you would like to share?
I'm looking at all of them now. Well, AI basically just goes on what information people put in there.
That's true.
And I stated something earlier on the on Facebook in regards to um, colorism, and as I stated before, I was blind to the fact of my color and how I appreciated my melanin because I was taught another way.
Yes.
But then once I grew up and learned, because people in the family we don't look at color.
Yes.
We didn't understand color until we got of age.
Yes.
And I can well my other meeting has ended. So I basically thought because everybody else was praising the other color,
Yes.
Caucasians, I
Yes.
thought that was the group we needed to be in or be alike until I learned to understand who I am and the importance of my melanin skin.
Yes.
And what you're taught when you're coming up, that's what is grilled in your head and your mind.
Yes.
Now I understand. So history, I don't know whether that's one of them. So I would say teachings and the history of what is being reared in your family should be one of them as well. But that's all I want to add for right now.
Okay. Guys, I'm going to add a little bit to what Dr. Cook said from my personal experiences. My father, who was darker than I was, when he was at home one day, and I noted this in one of the comments or the post that I put out, he called me to his side while he was relaxing after work, and then he held out his right arm, right hand, and told me to take my left hand and put it against his hand. And I didn't know what my dad was talking about, but I did what he asked me to do. And he looked at me and said, "Son, because of your skin color, you will get much further in life than I did." And as young as I was, I have no idea of the age I was. I was not in school at the time, so go figure. But that moment lasted with me, and it still is a part of who I am, how I think. The point is, the man who made me put my hand against his hand was my father, the man whom I love. Never before had I seen a color, nor was I raised to think of color. In my family, and one Nigerian told me, "You're a white man," and I'm not going to debate with stupidity, but in my family, I had two brothers that are now deceased, and three sisters. My two of my sisters were the same color of my father, and my two brothers and one of my sisters, we all happened to be the same color. But we didn't never in our family never walked around looking and saying that we were better than my sisters are better than my father. We love the word love for us as a family. That's the way that I grew up. Now, one other experience I want to share with you guys. Living in Mobile, there was a school called Heart of Mary. Heart of Mary was a Catholic school. So I'm out at a Mardi Gras, but you guys may not know, Mardi Gras originated in Mobile. So I'm out walking silo by myself in essence. And a nun came up to me out of nowhere, and she asked me, "What are you doing out here?" I said, "Well, I'm at the Mardi Gras event." I was a little cautious, but I responded to her, and she said, "What school you go to?" And I told her, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, okay, bye." And she walked away. There was no more conversation. The thing was, at Heart of Mary in Mobile, Alabama, they've strongly practiced this light skin complexion, you are better. And because I was a little light skinned kid, she thought I was a member of that school. Thereby, I should have received preferential treatment. But look, I understood at the time as I grew to understand what she was trying to imply. But my skin color was not a point of whom I was, and it never has been and never will be. But anyways, let's get to the top 10 cons of colorblind society. Again, this is AI generated. Colorblind society can obscure the real systemic inequalities. That's what from the AI observation states. The invisibility of identity and culture, hindrance to addressing racism. So in a colorblind society, we don't talk about racism. Overlooking historical context. So when you are in a colorblind society, your character judge you as how you ought to be positioned in that society. So we don't associate anything about your Black history. So Black History Month is not a considered to be a mainstay of a colorblind society. Perpetuation of implicit biases, and that's part of the colorblind society. Undermining affirmative action and diversity efforts. Guys, we see that right now in play. No question about it. So one of the disadvantages that we see playing out in real time is number 6. Number 7, complicated data collection in policymaking. A lot of times, and I guess many of you guys can be more knowledgeable about this than I, when they do the population consensus, money and funds are predicated to certain groups of the society based on those population document that they gather. So that's part of the reality. A lack of representation and recognition. Well, you're in a colorblind society. We don't need to get into recognizing you, or you don't need a representation. And number 9, a false sense of progress. I think we can agree to that. I've seen actors who acknowledge about the issue that they have encountered in Hollywood, how long that they waited to get a role, and whether or not they were open to roles because specific roles was predicated upon them acting like monkeys, like the white race expected them to act in certain roles. And many of the most powerful actors, they resisted those kind of roles, and God bless them for their strength. And number 10, erosion of solidarity amongst marginalized group. I think all of those that I found and I researched them, there's a bit of history and there's a bit of contemporary issues that is impactful. But anyways, any comments, please? Anybody care to comment?
That seems like the cons of a colorblind society.
Okay. Well, that is what I found it to be as well. Very much so. And it is society that we're living in right now. We are living in this society. Somebody else just joined in, I believe. Oh, Sheila, shoot.
So when I see that, so these descriptions, and the most important for me are colorblind society can obscure real systemic inequalities and overlooking historical context. So I was born in a so-called colorblind society. As I told you, I'm from Brazil. We didn't have the formal segregation that you had, Jim Crow in the United States. We Black people, Afro descendants, we were assimilated to think that we were living a kind of a racial democracy, right? And what we see there until today is that the blacks, dark skinned, or I don't want to say dark skinned because in Brazil I am a dark skinned woman. Yes, maybe not in the United States, but in Brazil I am because I have African features. The blacks, also called Afro descendants, they are on the bottom of the society, like the untouchables in East India. We have the mixed people, multiracial. I don't know how to describe them. What comparing to the history of the U.S. Creoles, like the Creoles people that you have in
Yes.
Louisiana.
Yes.
Yes, uh, they are the so-called buffer class, yes, that they can play the role of passing. Of course, that whiteness in Brazil is not the same like in the United States, but they are the ones who have the so-called passing, depending on where they live, who they are associated with, and this kind of stuff. And we have, of course, the whites. They are not Anglo-Saxons, but they are white Latinos. They are on the top, dominating us, and we have no mobility. And the point is that the Afro descendants, so they, because we were assimilated into this so-called colorblind society, they even don't understand that the situation that they are in, it's because they are black. They think it's because they are poor, because they don't work hard, because maybe they are living in a wrong neighborhood, because the way how they introduce this so-called colorblind society in our minds. And when I see your history, everything that you went through and everything you are losing because of that, right? It's very sad because you are the vanguard for us, Afro descendants in the diaspora, at least slavery diaspora. And if things is going bad to you in the US, for us, it will be worse. So
Wow.
thank you.
Wow. Wow. Something you was talking about in my mind chimed in on one of my experiences in 1976, and I put that in one of the posts. I was working, and look, I was pretty diligent about what I was doing. But anyways, uh, I was hired in with Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. And at the time, it was the largest tire producing facility in the world in a little small town of Gaston, Alabama. So I was hired in off of the street onto what was called a squad training program. And 1 month after being in on the program, I'll never forget this. One of the senior managers called me to his desk and he said, Tyrone, do you know you're the first Black person to be hired in off the street into this program? And to him, I smiled. But within my own self, Sheila, I was pissed. The first Black to me was an insult. It was a big insult to the reality that I knew that apparently they decided how they wanted the reality to be. Because there are so many more at the time and even now, Black people much smarter than I could ever be. And I knew that. But I was the first Black. I didn't walk around with a flag and parading that. I was simply pissed knowing that because of the history of what that represented to me. So when I hear some of the African Americans today acknowledge that they were the first Black, it only makes me upset to know that because we come from a powerful, intelligent race, not where we are chosen and picked out and plugged in. But anyways, I just wanted to add that. And I thank you for sharing so much about your time in Brazil and also in Germany now. Verdell, are you okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on something. I think that it's interesting just hearing you guys' stories. My grandparents are from Mississippi. And so they grew up during Jim Crow, and then they were part of, like, when folks were migrating to Chicago. They were part of that. They experienced prejudice, when my grandpa tried to buy a house, it was very difficult. They really went through. And so, unfortunately, growing up, since I was close to my grandparents, I was very much conscious of color. And on my mom's side of the family, most folks are dark skinned. My dad's side of the family, people are a brown, lighter skin, some mixed race. And so people like this preference of not getting too dark, like, would be spoken within our family. And even choosing the right partner to not have a baby that's too Black, hearing cousins and aunts saying things like this because of the reality that if you are a Black person who can pass as white, there is more opportunity. And so I do also get upset with this idea of being the first, or when people say, "Oh, you speak so well. You speak so articulately." Like that used to really grind my gears because I came up in the hood. And so the way that I spoke so well
Yeah.
compared to my peers, and it was very offensive even at that young age. I didn't have a word for it to describe the microaggressions back then, but it was all throughout my upbringing, I feel, sadly, especially being like a quote unquote scholarship kid, a kid who had opportunities outside of the neighborhood to travel and to do different things and to be exposed to different networks. That used to really upset me. And then to have other Black people who may have quote unquote pulled themselves up um, chime into this sense of, uh, I guess, I don't know what to call it, racism, prejudice, and self hate, even so,
Yeah.
believing that, of course, we need to work smart and work hard and not be lazy, but we also have to recognize privilege and access. And if you're from an area that lacks those resources, you will not have access. You won't be able to have even an opportunity until someone gives you a chance. And so it used to really upset me, this idea of first and, oh, you speak so well for this, and how even within our community we were like we struggled with colorism, and it was a huge struggle because I used to want to be super dark skin. I'm like, I want to be dark. I used to go out in the sun. I'm like, I want to get dark. And people would be like, no, you don't want to mess your skin up. And I'm just like, yo, what is wrong with you?
Wow.
Mess up my skin. And so I struggle with even my own sense of like Blackness, because to my peers, because of how I spoke in my experiences, I was trying to be white according to them. And then to white people, I was a safe Black person. I was too Black. And so I'm not a safe person. I'm not safe at all. Don't get yourself confused. Like, I'm not safe. I'm a person who seeks justice, and but at the end of the day, I lean toward Pan-Africanism at the end of the day.
So you were safe. In other words, you met the character criteria. You were safe. So we didn't have to see your color because your character that you had developed was acceptably safe. uh, that's beautiful. Anybody else care to come in behind Verdale comments? You're certainly welcome to do so because we're
Yes,
talking.
I completely understand, Miss
Okay.
Verdict.
Yeah.
Um, for myself, working on in various jobs, people saw me as a threat. Now, I spoke very well, but they didn't know, a lot of people did not know how to read me because they consider me the in-between person. I could go this way or I could go that way. And no one knew how to read me, so they made life on the job difficult. And um, I associate with my melanated sisters, um, but on the job, if those melanated sisters were trying to promote, they would stay as far away from me as they possibly could because the people that would promote them saw me as a threat. Um, because I didn't sit around and just smile in people's faces because of what they said. I didn't participate in everything that people wanted to do that was of another race. I was not the fake and phony person. Once I learned who I am and who I belong to, um, and when I saw that everything is about money, our skin is about economics. And I learned then because I wasn't being promoted. And so when I learned that promotion is dealing with economics, you're being suppressed. They're going to only allow you to get to a certain place because of your skin. And I had to learn that, and it took me a while to learn. And I would always pray about that and wonder what's going on, God? I need to understand what's going on. Why people hate me so or hate our melanated skin. And when you go back in history, it's always been about economics, money, always, unless you're doing exactly what they want you to do. Everything is about economics. And I'll comment once other people say something. But I was listening to Verde, and what she was saying, I've seen it as well. So, and when we learn that everything is about that mighty dollar, how the United States came into being because of that mighty dollar from the melanated people.
Yes.
Once we learn that, we can start progressing and moving forward together as a people when we understand who we are and why our melanated skin is all about that economics, that money, mighty dollar.
Beautiful. To the members of Exploring the Continent of Akibalon, uh, for those who could not make it today, I hope that you listen and you will feel the spirit of the discussion that we got in play is really serious. We're not trying to shy away from our true feelings and our thoughts. So I am grateful to be part of this moment that we all are embracing in this group right now. So thank you, Sheila, Mr. Ross, Verdell, and Dr. Cook for your comments. Now, we kind of gotten through the hurdle of the Mr. Khan of the Colorblind Society. Now, I did see a comment by one gentleman. I hope that he would have made it today, but he didn't. He said he would prefer to have both societies. But I think if we examine the differences, I think we might come with a different conclusion. So that's what I want to do next is, well, let's do the conclusion. The idea of a colorblind society should be inspiring and controversial. While it seeks to eliminate the prejudice and foster equality, it also risks minimizing or ignoring the real challenges that many people face due to their racial or ethnic background. That is what we're talking about. So I hope you guys would agree with that comment. Now, let's get into the New World Order, okay? Color Love Society. Now, one guy said, "Oh, you're a Christian." This is not about Christianity, please. It's about humans, who we are. And thus, to imagine such a society is to envision a world in which differences are normalized, uniqueness is celebrated. It's not a shameful condition. We are who we are. We were born to be who we are. And we were born in a world that the Creator made us to be born in with the colors that we have. And we should not adjust ourselves to think that we have to be differently. So some of the comments is a true colorblind society becomes a true standard for diversity. That's the real standard for diversity. And by the way, guys, a comment I had back in the 70s, I still have it today, speaking about equality. And I told a good friend of mine, I said, we will never have equality in America until white Americans move into Black community with the same aspiration that Black Americans move into white communities. Now let that sink in a little bit, okay? And understand what I'm talking about. To normalize who we are as people and human beings, the white Americans must accept all of us as we accept all of them. And as we embrace a better society, we move into the communities to upgrade our lifestyle, understandable. But I think that African Americans, we people of color, have equal amount of quality and uniqueness that need to be recognized and celebrated as we recognize our uplifting and becoming part of a better society when we live into other communities for which we are not generically or germane about. So I want to make that understood to you guys. In a color love society, differences are appreciated, respected as no badge of character, and honor as no badge of character of honor is required. You don't need to have the character in a color love society because who you are, how you look, you automatically love that way. with no preconditions or ideas in which you are to be. Character, and this is my comment, character in a color love society is part of the whole, not the whole of the part. Does that make sense to you guys? Character in a color love society is a part of the whole, not the part of the, it's not the whole of the part. And I want to make sure you guys pick up on that point that I was trying to make. So now we're going to go in.
Could you break it down a little more?
Character in a color love society is a part of the whole. You're not separated because of your color, or your character has to emerge above your color in order to be accepted. Okay?
Okay.
That's the point I guess I'm trying to make, if it comes clear. Character in a color love society is just part of the whole. It's just part of it. But the wholeness is a person being recognized and accepted for who they are. I'm trying to expand a little bit more on that idea. Okay. Now, another point, bridges are used to connect. The intent of a bridge is to connect separated land, right? That's one of the elements of a bridge that was created by man through time. They saw their relatives way on the other side of the lake. They couldn't get over there. So boats were certainly necessary, but a bridge became a permanent way to connect. And I'm trying to make the point about the communities that embrace color in all of its forms, skin tone, languages, tradition, artistic expression. They create that bridge that connect rather than the barrier that divide. So the color love society is a point of connecting our differences. And also I say, imagine a world where no skin color is more embraceable than the skin color of your fellow man. If you can accept yourself and your fellow man for what you see, there's no need to change who you are. There's no need to speak better or be accepted to be differently. Who you are is what the Creator made you to be. Feeling rejected or discriminated against because of one's skin color is in of itself a sickness. And that's my summary of it. I think if you are rejected, you have to meet certain criteria for what society it prevails itself to put before us. I think it's a sickness. I really think it's sick for people to walk around and say, Tyrone, you're okay, but your character is suspect. Or Tyrone, you got a good character, so I'm not going to deal with your skin color. I'm not saying that blatantly exists that way, but those are the elements that I see in our present day world that we live in a colorblind society. We have worked hard, and I heard many people. As a matter of fact, I had a debate with a doctor at a good friend of mine's birthday. I'm sorry, Christmas party, and she was a well-respected doctor, and she said, I said, how do you become successful like you are today? She said, well, my dad taught all of us that we need to work twice as hard if we wanted to get an advancement in the society that we live in. And I looked at her and I told her something. I said, well, I don't work twice as hard to do anything that I don't love to do. What I do it because I love it. I don't do it because I have to work twice as hard to get ahead of somebody else. I don't need that world that they created that makes me feel like I have to be more than twice the person that they are in order to get a minimum amount of respect. That's not the world that I want to be a part of. And she looked at me strangely, and she'd probably say, you're an idiot, but maybe to her I was. Okay. I'm not going to debate her thoughts, but I saw it in her expression. But I wanted her to realize that the world can change. And that's what we're talking about today, a color love society. So let's get a little bit more into this. Go ahead, brother.
The idea of a color love society, I think I think whites like that idea. Okay.
Do you think so?
I think whites like that idea. That way they could cling, where you say the races could cling on to the Confederacy and wonder why we no they may understand why we have that dislike for the Confederate flag,
Yeah.
but they say, well, they run the state, and you should, Black people and others, and Native Americans and Hispanics, should be accepting of their desires, and they're the majority. And in a country where majority wins, and they more so work together to
Okay.
separate the others, the Blacks and the Hispanics, where you say that's that idea of where you say us having lack of leadership. Why should you have leadership in a what do you say, in a colorblind society?
Mhm.
Okay,
A
but
color
in
love?
a no,
No.
in a colorblind society,
Okay.
you should not have that idea of Black leadership because you should not even need it.
Okay.
But in
Gotcha.
a color love society, you need it, which makes us separate. A color love society is a where you say Indians embrace their culture,
Yes.
whites embrace their culture,
Yes.
Blacks embrace their culture, which we tend not to even know our culture.
Yes.
And yeah, so, and there was something you said about they move into our neighborhoods for the same reason we move into their neighborhoods.
Yes.
But the reason why we tend to move into their neighborhoods is some idea of to get away from the problems that
Yes.
exist in our neighborhood. And
Yes.
so for them to come to our neighborhoods, why are they going to come to our neighborhoods? To get away from the problems within their neighborhood, which is we don't like trailer trash white folks. So we will go into the Black neighborhoods and we'll be accepted there. And they probably would be
Right.
more
Right.
accepted in our neighborhoods than we are accepted in their neighborhoods. And I'll say one more thing. I haven't met too many influential Black people, I could say, none that I shook hands with except one from Chicago, Sam Greenlee. Sam Greenlee, right? You know Sam Greenlee? He's from
Mr. Ross, for some reason your sound.
Wrote The Spook Who Sat by the Door.
Okay.
He wrote The Spook Who Sat by the Door. Okay. What do you say? One of those people who idea whites would feel comfortable with, and he managed to get in the I'm not going to say the FBI, but basically the CIA, and infiltrate like, okay, hey, I'll make you coffee. And they thought he was non-threatening, but he was very threatening. And I met him in the VA hospital.
Wow.
And where you say, a brother, where you say, I'm going to see this one brother in the room, and he says to me, this other brother said, you ever hear about the book Spook Who Sat by the Door? I said, yeah, I know the Spook Who Sat by the Door. He said, he pointed to the other fellow and he said, he wrote it. I said, I turned to the man. I said, man, you're a genius. He said, I know it. Now, Sam Greenlee worked, what do you say? He was in the military. He was from Chicago. He was an officer in the military, went to Iraq, knew about what they say, Saddam going to take over before the others. But he's the one who wrote The Spook Who Sat by the Door. And being looked at as all right. or being accepted by whites, which I've had a lot of acceptance by whites because I went to Catholic school, white Catholic school, and the Air Force and universities and all that other stuff. I tell people, I know how they are.
Yes. Yeah.
And we have to be prepared for how they, we have to get together. We, what you say, we don't live in a colorblind society, and a color love society will put us further down right where they want us.
Okay.
I'm finished. Go ahead.
Yeah. Um, Let me kind of go back to what you brought up that I had mentioned earlier about whites moving into Black communities. The point was, in such case, that the economics, which is what Dr. Cook spoke about earlier, that parameter of the economics would be equal in the Black communities, whereby whites would drive into nice communities, economically empowered by what you would see from the vision of the homes, the landscape, etc. So yeah, they would want to live in a Black community like that. But that means that a lot of progress has to get to a point in place where our communities are not run down as they are in America today, as we know them to be. So
But then,
the economics, again, what Dr. Cook spoke about earlier, would be the factor that makes and drive home that point even further. Does that make sense?
yes, but we also know that if they moved into our neighborhoods, they'd want to be head of the neighborhood block watch, the head of the committees here. Eventually, their thing. They do not want to be second class
Yes.
to blacks. They
Competitive
moved
nature.
into,
Yeah.
that's just,
Yeah.
that's their nature.
Yeah. Well,
Unfortunate.
Another experience of mine I'm going to have to bring forth. In my earlier part of my marriage now, we moved into a very nice community, golf course, swimming pools throughout. It was a very nice community. And we had been in this home for almost 2 years. And one night, my wife came home so excited. I said, "What's wrong? What's going on?" She said, "I met our neighbors across the street." I said, "The people that I've been seeing." She said, "Yeah," and they came up to me and they were so nice and so accepting. I said, "Wow," and I said, "They did." She said, "Yeah." And I looked at her and I said, well, I'm glad that they showed that side of themselves that they hadn't done before, which we've been here for 2 years. And I told my wife, I said, well, I'm going to wait another 2 years into the future before I choose to acknowledge them. Like they failed to acknowledge us for 2 years when they could have very easily walked across the street and say, welcome to the community. They chose not to because they looked at us and they made decisions about how they would engage with us. And I told my wife, I said, you might think I'm crazy, but I will give myself 2 years before I speak to them. And I did. So that's how I think that we have to equalize the society. We don't have to accept the conditions that they put us in, and thereby we're pigeonholed. We don't have to be that way. We have to be more determined not to be pigeonholed, not to be put in the traps that they created for us along the way. And we, I think, are the generation to do that. But anyways, I got one other point here, guys. Can you imagine for yourself the inner feeling of so many in the world today suffering from the thought of their skin color is unacceptable in its natural state as it exists? I'm speaking of those in the world today that choose to bleach their skin, not just Black people, as one guy brought up to mind. Many people bleach their skin, and to me, that is a state of sickness, that you got to make yourself lighter to be accepted. But anyways, that's the world that we live in today in a colorblind society. So moving along. Okay. I kind of thought that the meeting would get long, so I didn't want to go into too much of pros and cons of a color love society. But here's a point I want to make you guys understand that I want you to guys to walk away with. I am not wrong for sharing my thoughts and feelings if doing so will make the world a better place. All of us can do that. Last point, we were born to be the change the Creator created us to be. The Creator didn't put us on this earth to be passive. He created us to be just as we are. And we have to be respectful to Him for creating us as human beings. So the step that we must take is to believe in who we are, accept what He created in the final analysis of it. We are who we are because of Him. And we should not respect any other race and look upon them as if they are our creator. They are not. We have accepted them to be that way. I understand the power struggle that we've gone through, the elements of superiority versus inferiority. Those words have resonated throughout the world. And Mr. Ross, you just stated that if they move into a Black community, they are going to want to be the upper hand in the president. Dr. Cook, I'm shutting my mouth. You've got a comment you want to make. Please do. Please go.
I just have a question for everyone on the panel. Um, I have a relative that um, she still goes through her issues with colorism, and she made sure she married a lighter complected man to ensure that her children were light skinned because she felt that they would be going through issues if they were her color. And I tried to help her understand um, that that was not going to be the case. So I just asked from you all that's on the panel, what are some things that I can say to her that will possibly get to her or get through to her in regards to not thinking that your dark melanated skin is going to keep you suppressed and oppressed?
That's a good question, and I hope that we have people in here. Verdell, you're the person I'm gonna call on. Can you give your answer to her question, please?
I'm thinking. But the first thing I would say is acknowledging her concern. And because I feel like people who feel that way may feel like others are judging them and just not listening and not like living in quote unquote the real world when colorism happens and those things actually happen. So I think acknowledging that concern and that those things they do happen. Um, and then next is the issue of, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's definitely self-esteem and self-love because a kid can be biracial, can be super light-skinned and still hate themselves and still struggle with their identity and still carry this mindset, this that keeps them entangled and that sabotages their opportunities. So it's less to do, in my opinion, with our physical and it's mostly our mind. So our physical do plays a role. Like I can't ignore that. But also our mindset has to shift to how we see ourselves. Um, and learning to be a people who, despite like what it looks like on the ground, who have hope, who have a sense of hope. And I think that comes from from a divine source. It comes from the creator of the heavens and the earth, like that sense of like I was made in the image of God and there's nothing wrong with my image. So however she identifies when it comes to her religion or spirituality, tap into that. Based on what she believes, like maybe approach her in that way. If she identifies as Christian, who does God say you are? And let her like journey with that, but also just be gracious and kind and not come across as like you're judging her, just another Pan-African, like um trying to, bam her over the head for her ideas. So I think that's a starting point.
Wow. Sheila, you got any comments?
Um, Is quite similar to the sister previously. I also went through this kind of stuff, right? I explained this all the society I grew up in. And what I agree with the sister said, the point is when we don't know ourselves, our history and everything, we will pass this pain to our children. And even people, when they married white, I'm talking about married white, so they can reproduce lighter skinned children, and there are people. I came from a society, I went through this kind of stuff, right? The point is these children in a white society, they will not be white, they will suffer a lot, and they will not have a mother that will support them, or a father, because and they will not understand them, right? It will not happen. Or on the other hand, they can really reproduce children who will hate their black side. And it's even worse because if she goes through that, she will pass this through. And why I'm saying that here in Germany, we have a lot of mixed children who grew up in this society that normally, not generalized, but they are children of a black men, African men from the continent, US, I don't know. And because in general the relationships don't last, these children they grow up alone here with their white side. And I go to different encounters, meetings, safe space with these people who are not children anymore. They are young adults or adults. And the things that they went through or how they are psychologically, I would say, ill, it's really terrible to see. So, and it's because we never know what kind of motivation people have to. I believe in certain cases that are love, but if you are true, a lot of our people worldwide, they engage in this kind of stuff because, of course, it's painful to be black, to be mistreated everywhere, not just by whites. Around the world, we are mistreated by a whole other groups. It's a fact. I travel a lot and I see that, I experience that. But if we don't do better, we will just pass this pain and this self-hatred to the next generation. It will not help us at all. What helped me, it was to be engaged with Black people who know history, who really go to this path, know thyself. And it helped me a lot that today I just prefer to be with Black people. This is what I would share with her. She needs spaces where she will be listening to us a point, not be judged, and that she really can relate and feel this empathy. So with people who went through this kind of stuff, other black women or black men who are true to themselves and can speak openly. Okay, I went through that and these kind of things helped me. And this is what I can offer you.
Oh, that was beautiful. Mr. Ross, I think you might have something.
About 6 years ago, my niece's daughter went to the sperm bank. Okay, and she picked she picked Arab because she wanted to have that kind of hair and lighter skin. That's a kid. Now, what you say? Like I say, now the kid's about 6 years old. Looks black with curly hair and lighter than most family members. And hey, like was said, the person has to be comfortable with being black. Okay, what they say in religion. Tyrone knows my belief. What's it say? Everything God created in the beginning was good, and God made Adam out the mud. And what color is good mud? Black. Okay, and hey, those things. You got to be comfortable. You got to see yourself in your religion. Last week, I was at a party with Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. Everybody there from Ivory Coast. And I see in the house the Last Supper, white Jesus and his 12 apostles, and a white Jesus on the wall, and wondering why we have these problems in the 21st century. We are not, many times, no matter where we're from, we look at white people as and their gods, and we want our kids to be close to them, just like almost in slavery days, where mamas used to say, I don't want no nappy-haired kids, okay? Don't want a nappy hair. And who were the ones that went to the black colleges? Those that were lighter than a paper bag. Okay.
Okay.
How's that, Dr. Cook? You got any more comeback?
Yeah, I appreciate everything everybody said, and you answered my question. So my last comment is that was just my cousin. But when you look at the world as a whole, doesn't it basically appear to be the very same thing that she's going through as well with a lot of people in the world?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Can I amplify what you said earlier, Mr. Ross? And to
Please.
everyone, please listen. So let's go back to that first created human, as per se, and the mud that he or she was made out of. And it was black, right? We would make the
Christian, yeah.
assumption. Yeah, yeah. So that entity or that life was made in the image and likeness of the Creator. And I don't want people to say, well, it wasn't about color. It must have been about color too. Um, so the question that I've asked some real serious-minded people, if at that time the Creator created the first humans as we know today, which was melanated humans, in his image and likeness, how is it that his son came out being white? How could that be? Did he make a mistake at the very beginning and say, wait just a minute, these people in my image, and I don't want black people, I don't be walking around looking like black people and people saying that that is the image of the Creator. I don't want that. So I'm going to insert my white son, which is a better version of myself. If we buy into that and buy into angels being white, we have lost what the Creator put us on this earth to do. We are in his image and likeness. We are, the melanated people are, the first humans on the earth. The black woman is known to be the birth mother of all races. But those little bad little scoundrels got out and said, oh, well, you're black, you're not like us, so we're white now. We got straighter hair. If we lose sight of what the Creator did at the very beginning, we will forever be caught in this trap of racism or colorism. In all honesty, the melanated people must be respected as the first humans on the earth. And guys, for some of you who are part of what I'm doing, we are going to be developing, we already have a separate group, it's called Akibalon Global. We are going to develop a celebration in 2026 that is to honor and to recognize that the first humans unquestionably were melanated people. We all know it, right? But we don't celebrate it. Year after the year 2026 and beyond, decades into the future, we will see that concept take hold. Maybe it could help fight against some of the issues and evil and sin that people of color have dealt with through the years for not being light complected or having straight hair. All those issues that make people feel like they are inferior, which in fact they are not. Melanated people are not the inferior people. They are the superior people, but with love, because they're made in the image and created of the likeness of the Creator. So within the melanated people is the love of the Creator. Maybe that's why they haven't created nuclear bombs as they exist in the world today. They know that they should be here on this earth to nurture the earth, make it what it should be, not to destroy it. But anyways, everybody, anybody has any more closing comments? I'm trying to close out with this comments I'm making. I think we made progress today. I feel in my spirit that we have. I'm going to post this out to the group. For those of you who are in the group, if you learn something, please share it. And I don't mind. We can post this out on YouTube so you can have other people to come and watch it, because I think many people will learn from all the comments that's been shared here today and the spirit in which these comments have been made. So that being said, I thank Dr. Cook for coming in today. Verdell, thank you so much. Sheila, Mr. Ross, God bless all of you guys. And we are the image of the Creator. Let there be no doubt about that. Let nobody convince you that you're less when you are greater than who stand in front of you, who are telling you that you're less. Okay? So guys, I'm going to wrap up our meeting today, and I want to thank everybody from the spirit of my heart for being here today. And if we have to have another meeting, if some people in the group say, well, I missed the meeting, I want to come again, I'm open to that. I'll open that door up. Okay? But otherwise, everybody, take care. Have a wonderful, blessed day. And we got other things that we're going to be doing in the future. This is just the beginning and a continuation of other things that's going to happen. Okay? And Verdell, we got a meeting coming up Monday, if you don't mind, 5 p.m. your time. Okay?
Okay.
You're going to find that you're going to be a key component. Okay?
Oh, could I ask really a question? Where are your grandparents from in Mississippi?
Both of them are from Yazoo, Mississippi.
Okay, I wondered, were they members of the Greenville Club like my father was?
I'm not sure.
Well,
Okay, all right.
family, much love to everybody. Okay? Be good, everybody. Take care and have a beautiful day.
You too.
Take care.
Okay,
Goodbye,
bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.